All right. Well, welcome everyone to episode 5. This is episode 5.
Wow.
That's crazy. Episode 5. I didn't even think we're gonna make it past episode 1, but we're here. Um, Welcome back if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this anywhere else, you're probably watching this on YouTube because for now we're not thinking about putting it anywhere else. But I hope that you're having a good day. My name is Rehan and I am with Susan. And this is Teen Talks, where we are going to be discussing the dynamic between teenagers and parents. Susan being a parent who has experienced what it's like to parent teens, and me being a 20-year-old boy who just ended his teenage years
Just
and
a boy.
a little boy stepping into adulthood now. And yeah, we're just having these
I'm doing it
conversations.
well,
Yeah,
if I say so.
thank you. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and yeah, I hope that you enjoyed today's conversation. It's gonna be pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, so hey, guess what? I had quite the week. In fact, you would think my backyard was a zoo. Uh, so on Sunday,
Hmm.
my husband has a bird feeder, a bunch of bird feeders he puts out. He refuses to take them down
Yeah.
because he has to feed his babies. And so we get bears. And um, so on Sunday night, he goes out there and there are two humongous bears, and the
Oh,
bird feeders are right by the house out there. And so normally what he'll do is he'll open the door and go away, go away. And so one of the bears did, well, went off into the forest. And then the other one just stood there and went, oh, and looked at him and was like, I'm not leaving. And my husband was like, oh, crap. Usually they leave. And so he got a little scared, went back inside. So that was scary.
that was
Then
a
of
very
course,
good
they
bear
took the bird
impression.
feeder and he found it later in the forest. But
Wow.
and then the next day, no, 2 days later, I was out in the backyard and I work out there sometimes at the table out in the backyard. And I don't face that way because of the sun. And my husband comes home and I'm out there working on my computer. And he goes out to the bird feeder and the bird feeder is totally tipped over like this. And he goes, did you know a bear came through while you're sitting out here? I'm like, what? A bear? And I was just sitting out there and it was crazy.
And you had
And
no one.
then and then the next day, I'm upstairs in my daughter's room, actually this room, and I'm looking out the window and I see a huge bear come out of the forest on one side of the yard, walk all over the lawn, all the way down, meander like this. Bird feeders weren't out yet. And it looks over, no, takes back and goes out back up to the forest again. And then I come downstairs that same day, and there's a deer right there in my yard. And he just goes and jumps over the fence. It's like it's like Snow White land, except bears are kind of scary. But so there was an interesting week of animals.
That is amazing. First of all, very good like bear impression in the beginning. The
Oh,
little
thank you.
rant that you were doing. That was
They go.
I could really could
That's
really
what they do. They go.
there we go, everyone. That's Susan's bear impression.
Yeah,
But wow, that is insane. Like really
yeah,
insane.
yeah,
I personally I would have loved that because I love animals. Like I absolutely love animals. So like seeing bears and deer and like whenever I see any animal, it could literally be a squirrel, like just walking around. I look at that thing and I'm like, wow, that thing's awesome. I love
yeah.
animals. But yeah,
Me too. I know it is pretty darn cool, I have to say. I mean,
that is
we've got with that darn bird feeder, we have you look out there out the window and it is literally like Snow White. There are
yeah,
bunnies on the ground, squirrels running all over, birds coming in. We got all kinds of birds. Some pileated woodpecker this big will land on there and just eat away. And hummingbirds, everything.
that's
It's
amazing. Where you live, is it like surrounded with like a forest or like is it
We have a forest in our backyard, but on the other side of the forest is another neighborhood. So we're
okay?
out in Woodinville, Washington. So we're about 30 minutes from Seattle, east of Seattle. And so it gets a little more rural, but there's tons of people out here. It just there's lots of places for them to roam.
Wow.
They
So
just come
it's
into the
like,
neighborhood because that's easy food.
wow. So they're just roaming around like neighborhoods. It's not like there's like a forest and that's where they are, and then they just come out of the forest and then they come to
Well,
eat.
no, I think they do have a den in the forest somewhere,
Okay.
but it's not that far from houses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's that's so
anyway,
cool. Now let's change the topic up. I actually have a question for you. It has nothing to do with animals or anything like that, unfortunately.
oh,
But I was having a conversation with my dad very recently about like my current situation, and I was just getting some advice from him, and it was a really good conversation. And he was mentioning the fact that, you know, when it comes to years of experience,
mm,
he has a lot more than I do, right?
mhm. Yep.
So what that equates to for him at least is that he knows more than me. Now, I have a question for you, Susan. Do you think that parents know more than their teens? And then after your answer, we'll have a conversation about that because I think I have my own thoughts about it. But I would love to hear what you think about that.
That is a great question. Yes and no is my answer. Yes and no. We have more experience. Okay. That doesn't mean that we know more, but we do have a lot more experience and we understand consequences of what we do. Um, but no, as far as the new things you're learning that I have no clue about, right?
Yeah,
And you're more open to learning the new stuff, and some of us get a little more closed off because it's so far from our reality of what we've grown up with or know that we tend to not even get there. I mean, like, look at technology right now. You know, I'm learning, I'm trying,
uh-huh.
but you know more than I do. It's just intuitive to you. So
Yeah.
there is different things like that. That's funny because just today
Mhm.
I opened up a piece of mail because my daughter moved out this last week, and the car is still in my name. Her car is still in my name, which I've got to change because this is the second time that I've got a thing in the mail saying a ticket, a parking ticket that she told me she got 3 or 4 weeks ago for $30. And I go, well, you better pay that darn thing because fines are bad. And I get this letter today in the mail. This morning I opened it up from the city of Kirkland. $60 because you didn't pay the ticket yet. So here's the thing here. I have more experience because I know what happens when you don't pay a ticket right away.
Yeah.
The price goes up.
Yeah.
So that's based on experience that she doesn't have.
Yeah.
So yes, then I know more, right?
Yeah.
I'm right now I am furious with her. I'm going to be on the phone and I'm going to say, now you have to pay $60 instead of 30. How does
Yeah.
that feel? You know, so that yes, your dad or me could say, hey, pay that ticket because, and I did say it and she didn't act on it. So she has to learn the hard way, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I love that answer because what you said for me resonates 100% in the fact that experience is not, in my opinion, experience is not knowledge, it is understanding, right? When you go through something, it's not like you know it, you understand it because you've been through
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing something is very different from understanding it, right? You can know something, but if you don't understand it, you can't do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
So like understanding is like that deeper level, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with technology. You can know that it exists, but if you don't understand how to use it and how it works, then you're not going to be able to do anything with it, right?
Right. Yeah. Good insight. I love that.
Yeah. So what I was thinking was that I think this is my belief as a young not so teenager, used to be a teenager very recently point of view, is that I do not think that the years of knowledge accumulated um, are more important and more significant than someone's understanding of something.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I mean by that. take a parent, for example, who has been in the personal development space for a really long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goes to Tony Robbins events, listens to Mel Robbins's podcast, and is on Mind Valley as well, looking at all these things and going through the courses, trying to improve as a person,
Mm-hmm.
but will go through them and won't implement these things in their life.
Yeah.
Compared to a teenager or a younger person who not only maybe doesn't necessarily seek out that stuff, but every single day um, makes a choice to be positive and to look at the good side of things, or will maybe meditate and seek inside or do these different things on their own and actually live it, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, right? For me at least, the way I've positioned it is that that teenager, that younger person, has a better understanding of personal development because they're living it, compared to the person who has had years and years and years of the experience in the personal development space but has not been implementing it and doesn't live that way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's true. Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I have felt as a kid many times that this whole idea of, I've been told so many times, like I have, whether it's my parents or just people who are older than me, mentors, whatever it is, constantly being told like I have more experience than you. I know best, right? But there's always a voice in my head that's saying, sure, maybe you have that knowledge, but I have the understanding. I'm always telling myself, like, because I'm the one living it. I'm the one
Mm-hmm.
experiencing it.
Yeah.
So the reason why I bring this up is because it's a very fine line. And I understand, like, yes, there is parents and, people who are older, they inevitably have lived through more. They've
Mm-hmm.
experienced more, they've seen more, they maybe even know more.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that they know better? Does that mean that,
Yeah.
right? So I just wanted to bring that up because it's something that I know as as a teenager, and even now to this day, like I do experience that, and I battle with it sometimes in my head, and I feel like that's where many teenagers, and that's where the conflict might come from as well, because sometimes when teenagers are talking to their parents and their parents are like, I know best, the teenager might not feel that way because it hasn't been proven. Maybe the teenager does feel like they are better in that area or in solving that solution, like that solving that problem, than the parent is. So I don't know if you
And
want
I
to.
think that's a really good point to bring up too, because like you're saying, it's really, I remember when I was a teenager, I thought my parents, was like, you don't know, which
Yeah,
yes, they did know
yeah,
in certain things, because as I got older and then I look back and I go, oh, I guess they knew something about that because now I'm seeing it myself.
yeah,
But yes, in many things, that's why just because you're older doesn't mean you're wiser. It's
yeah,
how you lived your life. It's how you've learned. I know so many people who they just let circumstances run their life. Well, woe is me. It happens to me all the time, blah, 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 blah. And they never grow. They just let life hit them and they never grow
yeah,
and they never learn. And I don't think those are the best parents either, because they're not taking what they know and
mm,
building on that and then sharing it. And when I say sharing it, I think as a parent, we can't go, I know more than you. I've done this. So listen to me. Da 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 da. No, it's more like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Let me explain where I'm coming from.
mm,
And this is what I've learned.
yeah,
So how are you going to use that in your own life?
yeah,
Because like I've said before, they are not you and you are not them, and they're going to experience things entirely differently than you are.
mhm,
So it's very it's all about relationship. We always come back to this, but it's so true.
yeah. That communication and meeting them at that same level, and I
Yeah.
like the idea of what you were saying about sharing,
Mm-hmm.
because whether it's sharing the energy, sharing the space, sharing the conversation as well. It's something that we don't really think about that way, but Yeah, when you are having a conversation, it's an exchange. It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue, right? So sharing that space with them and letting them say what they think so that you can then share what you think and then go from there from both perspectives, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was
But
thinking about, we know this, but not everybody feels this way. So if you're a teenager and your parent is not the parent who wants to share, your parent wants to tell you what to do, and here's why, because I know better, blah, 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 blah. And you sit there and you thinking like you are right now, going, well, I don't know about that.
yeah,
And if you say that to your parent, they might get angry.
yeah,
Like, you don't tell me what to do.
yeah,
I know best, right? What is it that the teen could do to go, hey, I'm not trying to be combative. I'm not trying to be mean or not listen to you,
yeah,
but can you listen to me? And maybe not, maybe I do know a few things. Like, I've gone through stuff
yeah.
and I have an opinion, I have a mind of my own. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to think of what would be the best way for a teen to tell their parent that and
Mhm.
have the parent understand and not get angry.
Yeah,
So the top of mind in my head means I would think to write a letter to
yeah,
your parent, because it's not, they have to read it and they can't like go, "Oh."
yeah,
Write a letter, a nice letter, you know, letting them know how you feel and letting them know you want their support, but and that you have an opinion and that you want to be heard.
yeah,
Because I think so many of our teens feel like they're not seen, they're not heard,
yeah,
they're not respected as opinions, that they're what they think matters.
yeah.
And so if you have a parent that doesn't listen, I would suggest a letter.
I love
That's,
that.
I don't know,
Yeah,
just came to me.
yeah. I love that. I love that idea, and because I know what what we would. I'm saying we. Yes. Okay. I'm putting myself in the teenage category. Okay.
Yep,
What
you
we would.
are. You're an adolescent still.
Yeah.
Adolescents from 12 to 24, I believe.
There we go. Youth. I'm part of the youth. That's
Yep.
what we would do is I truly believe this, we would typically gravitate towards sending a text message.
Mm.
Um, but I feel there is like a not a negative energy around it, but it's almost like it's easy. It's very easy to send a text message,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And for something that is as meaningful and as important as this, I love the idea of a letter. And maybe instead of a letter, if like that's not your thing, what I thought of is maybe you record a video of you,
Yeah.
if you're more comfortable that way. I know some people aren't as comfortable
A
like
good idea.
the camera and stuff like that. Yeah, if you want to just like record a video and just say how you feel. That way you
In a
can have
calm
that
state.
exactly
Always
and
in calm.
say when you're okay and you're ready to do it. But you are because then it's like you're able to tell them everything that you need to tell them without having them um belittle you or bring you down or
Or
bash
interrupt.
thing or interrupt you. It's you're creating that safe space for you to express yourself
Mhm.
in an empowering way, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's super important.
Yeah.
I really love that idea of like the whole um the letter
On
thing.
video too. And I do agree with you about texting. Texting is very convenient.
Mm,
And how many times do we just go blah, 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 and hit send?
yeah,
And like I just had a conversation, really quick conversation with my husband the other day,
yeah,
and he totally misconstrued what I was saying because it was just on in words and he didn't know the meaning, the emotion behind it. And
yeah,
that's one thing I don't like about texting. You can make one word make not, they don't get at all what you just said.
yeah.
And that's what I don't like about texting. It's convenient, but don't go deep on text. Don't go deep on text.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
hard thing to do, and I mean, I know there's some pros out there that use emojis really well, and like I always find myself I have to use like the smiley face emoji as much as possible because I need the person who I'm sending the message to understand what emotion I'm feeling, like where I'm coming from, because
Yeah,
it changes everything. It
it
really changes
does.
everything. You can you can send thanks with a period that might come across as like thanks, but it's harsh. It's a little bit harsh. And then on the receiving end, someone who's receiving that message might interpret that in the, you know, in the way that you didn't intend for it to be interpreted. Like
Yeah.
it's really hard. But if you send like thanks with the period, but like a smiley face, then it's like it changes everything. Then it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
know exactly what emotion.
Yeah.
So you could like write a whole entire thing by text with emojis and do all that stuff. But then why
Okay,
not?
going back there though, for
Mhm.
me as a parent, and maybe it's because the age difference and because um feeling difference about texting. I
Mhm.
wouldn't want as a parent to get a deep, heartfelt text from
Yeah.
my kid. Because I would just it just wouldn't seem as meaningful, I guess,
Yeah.
on a text. I don't know what it is, but I would say the
And
video or a letter is much better.
I completely agree with you, which is why what I was gonna say is, you know, if you're going to send the whole text with the emojis, you might as well take that time and, you know, just put a little bit more effort into it or whatever it is and do something different, like write that letter or send
I
that.
hate to say it, but you know, this thing really is powerful. And I know you don't like to write on paper,
Yeah.
but even this is better than typing on it.
Save the
If you were
breathe.
to type a letter, this has more feeling. It means more. I don't know what it is. I just wrote my son, I said, he lives in London, and I sent him some paperwork that he needed. And that day I was just feeling like, I think I read a book or listened to something that inspired me. And I was just like, hey, Rye. And I wrote him this long thing about, I just got really deep and like, here's what life's all about. And just make sure you love people and you enjoy yourself. And he received it and he texted me. And he's like, Mom, you got really into it. I'm like, I know, it just flew. It just flew out
Yeah.
of me. I had to give it to you. And I did it all in my own handwriting. I even like drew little pictures. And I can tell you, if I would have sent that in a text, it'd be gone. I
Yeah.
can tell you right now, my son, I bet this little note, it was
Yeah.
like this big that I wrote solid front to back with little hearts and stuff, went somewhere that
It
he'll
went
look at.
somewhere. And it is somewhere. It is somewhere,
It
right?
means so much more
Yeah.
when you use your pen or pencil.
Yeah.
So got into that a little bit. Sorry. I'm
No.
very passionate about that. I
And
think it's a lost art.
yeah, and for anyone who is thinking about the trees, we understand that. But you know, we're maybe try and find some eco-friendly paper, you know,
Yeah.
and a nice eco-friendly pen or eco-friendly pencil somewhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry. Uh,
I love that. I love that whole idea. And you know, it's it's important because these are different ways that people can start reconnecting or improve the connection that they already have,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Whether it is teen to a parent, parent to a teen, or any sort of relationship.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
And in all of life, the more I just read, and maybe that's the book I read that I got so emotional about, but The Five Regrets of the Dying is an amazing book. I mean, I just flew through this book. It was written by a woman who cared for a lot of people who were on hospice or who were dying.
yeah,
Most of them were older, like really old.
yeah,
But a few of them were younger, they had cancer, whatever. And when I read that book, overall, so she learned and heard it over and over and over from all these people who are facing death,
yeah.
what their biggest regrets were.
Mm,
And the biggest regret of all, I think, was that the relationship you have with people and the love, and it's all about that. It is not about things, it is not about anything other than love. You can't take it with you.
yeah,
And your life is seemingly, as a teenager, you think your life is going to go on forever,
yeah,
but really it's not. And it really, over you look at it, it is not long.
yeah,
And use it wisely. I mean, you're to talk to the teenagers right now. I mean, I just read this book at 60 something years old, and it's touched me a ton. So I'm like, okay, I have so many years left, I'm going to live this way. If you can read that book or learn that your relationships with people and how kind and loving you are to people is all that matters, and go after your dreams and don't do what other people tell you to do.
Yeah.
You can learn that when you're your age.
Yeah.
Whew, your life's going to be amazing.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge difference. It changes everything.
It
Once you
changes
understand that, it
everything.
changes everything. And
Yeah. And just to know how wonderful you are
yeah,
and how unique you are. I mean, that's the other thing they said is one of the 5 regrets was live as yourself. Do
mm,
not live as someone else. You were created to be the person you are. There is no one on earth exactly like you. Nobody.
yeah,
And you were brought here for some reason. You all have gifts to share. Don't try to live like everyone else. Live your life the way you want to live it. And if I would have known that back when I was a kid, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have wasted all the time trying to be something that I'm not and make decisions I made. I'd be in a totally different place.
yeah.
Whoa. Read that book. It's by, I can't remember her last name, Bronnie something.
We'll put it in the description.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Thank you for sharing, Susan. I think that's a wonderful thing to end on, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
and even our good friend Tony Robbins, he says it. He says the quality of your life is the quality of your emotions and your relationships.
Yeah. So true. So true.
It's yeah, I love it. Love it.
And even though as teens, so much is going on in your body and your brain and everything, all that stuff that, was meant to happen and you have to go through because it's the development that's happening inside.
Yeah.
If you can keep that connection of those things being the
Hmm.
most important and not let the other things get in the way, I think that's critical. And to
Yeah.
really think, don't just react, think before you react or make a decision. Think, is this what I really want? Is this
Yeah.
going to serve me? Because I think teens, and I remember me and my kids, I've seen it, don't think, they just do. And sometimes you get into trouble or it's not really what you wanted to do. So put the thinking cap on before you make a decision or before you
Yeah.
go do something that maybe somebody else wants you to do, but do you really?
Yeah. And I think we should in next week's episode we'll dive into that. We'll talk about the whole self-awareness aspect and how to develop that self-awareness. I think that's something that, many parents want to know.
Yeah,
How
just because we're old doesn't mean we
yeah,
got that down.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think that's one core subject that everyone would love to learn more about and hear
Yeah.
more about. And yeah, remember like ABC formula, the first A literally stands for that self-awareness. So it's a first step to unlocking so much in
Oh,
so many different areas of life, right?
yeah.
Um,
You, you can't live your true life without it.
exactly. So there we go. I think we'll talk about that in next week's episode.
Ooh, it's gonna be rich.
It'll be fun. Ah,
Okay.
alrighty.
Well,
Well,
we went from bears and animals to some deep stuff.
that's the way we like it here on Teen Talks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everybody, thanks for listening and watching. And we hope to bring you more value. And we want to know what you're thinking. What do you want? Let us know.
Yeah.
Comment, DM, email. All the stuff is in the show notes or whatever we call that thing.
Yeah, everything's in the description. And feel free also to subscribe if you want to subscribe and, follow along. And yeah, we hope
Oh, and
to.
we just made a decision, didn't we, today? That all of our podcasts are going to come out on Fridays.
Yeah, that's true. So even so far, they have been coming out all on Fridays, but that's what we're gonna keep this rhythm up. We're gonna keep them coming out every single Friday, weekly. And yeah, we just hope that we're gonna be able to keep providing value, and we hope that you are getting value. And please be honest with us. Like, give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. If there are things that
Are we talking too much about animals and that's not really what you care about? Or
exactly, like, just let us know. Let us know if we're
or
talking too much. Maybe we'll just do a podcast where we're just sitting and not saying anything. But No, just let us know. Seriously, we really want to know your honest feedback so that we can learn as well and make this better and serve you better as well. So just give us your
Yeah, I
feedback.
mean, I think
Yeah.
not to brag or anything, but I think that we have a unique thing here going because honestly, I've never met Rehan in person.
Yeah.
He is from Toronto, but he's
Wait,
living in
Susan?
France.
Who
What?
are you? Do I know you? What
I
are you
know.
doing? It's like
Did this thing on the screen. I don't know what that is. But to have a 20-year-old and a 60-something-year-old connect, we've never met in person, but we have this connection that just we've made where we can talk. I mean, I feel like, well, you're a very mature 20-year-old, but I'd say that, I consider you my friend now. And it's just like,
yeah,
this is awesome. You're younger than my kids.
yeah.
And I feel like I have a really good friend who's, 40 years younger than me. It's awesome. I love it.
Look at that.
Someday we'll meet in
Well, we
person,
better. We better.
but you got to get back from Europe or maybe I'll come to Paris.
Hey, doors open, so you let me know.
Okay. All right. Good one.
All
We'll see you
right,
guys
take care,
later.
everyone.
Come back and meet us next time, next Friday.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.